Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe. Our guest today is Karyl Thomas with the Lori Williams Services, and she was instrumental in helping me when we were looking for a home for my mom. So, all about navigating the senior living experience on this episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe.
As a Texas realtor, Robin McCoy is in the unique position to meet and know so many different people in a wide range of industries. These people are her tribe, and she leverages them not only to help her business, but to help theirs as well. Welcome to Crushing It with Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. Here is your host, Robin McCoy.
Hi, everybody. Robin McCoy, and welcome to another episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe. And today we are talking with Karyl Thomas of the Lori Williams Senior Services. And this is going to go along a lot with my journey with mom over the last 4 months, 6 months. How long has it been now since that all started?
Months, probably.
Exactly. So Karyl is, like I said, with Lori Williams Senior Services, which is basically a placement for elder and senior care living. And it's really about navigating the healthcare system, living in the maze that is, in fact, senior living, which I learned, and just the value of placement and the knowledge that people like Karyl have in these different places. We asked Karyl why, she does this and what is it about the senior care community. And she says her grandma Doris was her matron of honor at her wedding at age 93. The gift of health, way outside the bell curve, gave her the passion to help those who don't always have that fortunate journey. So, Karyl, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
So let's just start at the basics. What does Lori Williams Senior Services do? So what is your role?
Our role is to help adult children or the senior themselves when senior living is needed, which is of various levels of care, from anything from 55 plus, independent, assisted, memory care, and residential care homes. We are a free service to those who need us. In all transparency, the way the business works is we go out and vet communities, residential care homes, independent livings, because they ebb and flow in their care, stability, etc. Make sure where we're referring folks is a good place for them to send their loved one. And in the event they pick one we refer them to, then we're paid a referral fee. But outside of that, it is our passion, as all of us want to stay home as long as we can, and myself. A lot happens before this move, even at 55 plus, from selling a home, which is what you're an expert at, to getting a knee replacement, maybe needing temporary help and then going back home, to going home and needing a wheelchair, but it's not covered by insurance. Amelita's Closet can help with that. So we pride ourselves on being a resource beyond just the placement.
And let me tell you, you succeed at a high level on that. I'm not going to lie. My personal experience, just to kind of back up, if you've been following along on my socials and you understand the journey with mom, as I'm calling it, 4 months ago, I guess it was in October, is when I first spoke with Karyl, and she was referred to me by, I believe, Kimberly Truax, who owns a senior community, assisted living up in Denton. And Karyl was, she was a voice of reason for me in a time where I felt like there was no reason going on at all. And it's that experience of what this maze looks like that gave my sister and I that sense of calm, that there was somebody out there that we could call.
Yes. So, a big part of what we do beyond the placement that develops connection is a lot of times, like I said, it's the healthcare industry. Folks don't understand Medicare. Sometimes they haven't gotten power of attorneys into place. Sometimes in staying in the home, they'd like to bring care in, but they're confused. Does Medicare, a lot of people think Medicare covers senior living, which it does not.
Not a penny
That's
of it.
always a shocker to folks. They're like, wait,
Yeah.
what? We have to pay for this?
Yeah.
But then there's avenues they didn't know their loved one had long-term care. It pays for senior living. They didn't know that if their dad was a vet during active war and duty, that even though he's passed, the mom might have access to benefits. So there's just so many nuances that there's no way, unless you've done it for a living, that you could even know the questions to ask.
And that's exactly what it is. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know what to ask. You just, my mother was like, what, Medicare's not going to pay for this? I'm like, Medicare does not pay a dime
No,
for residential or
No.
for bringing care in.
no,
They don't, that's why it's $12,000 a month.
right. It can be. And, it can start in the assisted living level. The rents start around 4,000, but then they didn't understand. But then you have an assessment for a level of care. And then they don't understand that there are two different types of assisted living in the state of Texas. So there's that. So what happens, in the way I term it, is you start to feel like you're the ping pong ball and someone hit the lever.
Yeah.
And
That's
you're from this side of the pinball machine to that side of the pinball machine to that side and back down and up and forwards and around, and really have not gained any ground because you didn't know how to navigate. So
well, and that's exactly it. And that's exactly how personally I was feeling, that every time I turned around and I thought I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, it was simply another train coming to plow me down.
yes. And then the other piece of it that we really, at least I pride myself in, is each of us on the Lori Williams team seem to have areas that we've come through with expertise. So, for example, I have worked in hospice for 3 years. And a lot of times someone will describe their parent to me and they think hospice is only end of life, 3 to 5 days, which back when we were young, that is what it was, but it has truly evolved in these disease states that we know will progress. So not only may I be able to help them with placement, but did you know that Medicare covers hospice 100%? And don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. If it's suggested sooner than later, it is not a death sentence anymore.
It's just helping you live where you are longer because now Medicare is paying for it.
And where you're at, a quality of life, because if you pain, then she might be able to get out of the wheelchair and go enjoy the activity or get from bed to wheelchair if pain is managed. And again, each of us has things that we're well versed in and can give knowledge even outside of placement that enhances the move.
So let's kind of get a little bit to that, because I think, like we said, we don't know what we don't know. And we think we do, kind of, because we say, well, I'm going to get on Medicare and I'm going to live as long as I can in my home, and I'll age in place. And then I'll go find a nice assisted living that, I can move into, and then and then I'll progress on. But it's not that way, because everything happens slowly, then suddenly, and now all of a sudden your best laid plans have changed.
Right.
So when should someone really start thinking about, that piece or that chapter or that season of my life at 60?
Yep.
When do I call people to say, okay, I want to make a plan? What do I do? How do I do this?
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Businesswomen's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
Okay, I want to make a plan. What do I do? How do I do this?
So, so first off, what I would start with is knowing yourself and preparing even in your home to have the knowledge of who you are and how it could affect you long term. What do I mean by that? So, for example, I know that I have, and I have no problem saying it, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I have Raynaud's disease. My mother had neuropathy in her feet. These are all things that are going to affect my health. So
Mhm.
I am starting to prepare for what that could look like. I want to make sure I have powers of attorneys in place. You can't do that too soon because you have to be in the capacity in your mind to pick who's going to be your power of attorney.
Mhm.
And you want to navigate that maze. I'm not an attorney, but again, we have elder law attorneys that we
Yeah.
refer. So it's baby steps, but it's starting now and not waiting. My goal is to never live in assisted living either. So I also think the step is I'm going to be honest, it's a lot of money. If you
Yeah.
need full care, you're talking $7, $8, $9,000 a month. Therefore, Karyl Thomas is trying even herself to do all she can to stay healthy. So
Yeah.
start there, have my powers of attorneys in place, have my advance directives express my wishes to my power of attorney. This is the quality of life I define for Karyl Thomas, not what my power of attorney thinks my quality of life should. Don't pick that person as your power of attorney. I have one kid that'll let me and want me live forever, even if it's hard. And the other one might kill me tomorrow, to be honest. So you and you got to put your wishes down, but you got to know just the baby steps of pre-work, power of attorney. What are your disease states that could affect you? What can you do to stay healthy the best you can? Not that it won't ever come to pass. And
Right.
so I see people, I say attend seminars online about powers of attorneys, attend conversations about VA benefits if you know someone, if you were in military or your loved one was. Just education, as always, is power. And
Very
I
powerful.
tell you, avoiding it is the biggest mistake. It
Yeah.
won't, it not happen. It
Yeah,
won't.
and that's, part of my, I've been talking about my personal situation because mom was fine and then she wasn't, and all of a sudden she couldn't walk.
Right.
And you start asking people, whether it's online in small groups, you're like, okay, so mom's got to move. What do
Yes.
you think of place A, place B, place C? And they'll go from everything for the same place. Oh, they're the most wonderful thing in the world to they killed my grandmother.
Yes.
I mean, and I think that's where somebody like you comes in
Yeah.
that understands really how these operate, so that it's more of an objective opinion.
Yes. And the beauty of it too is people think all assisted livings are the same, but they're not. One, in care; two, in what they're able to do for care; three, what they charge for that care. So I highly recommend getting a placement service. And I really recommend a local, and that's not to speak poorly of the national. I'm ever so grateful for the original larger organizations that put senior living on the map in our country.
Yeah.
Because unlike other cultures, we do often live separate, where in Asian cultures they live together. My husband's half Japanese, I know. There was no way his mother was going to live in senior living. But in our country, we do. So these larger conglomerates put it on the map, and I'm grateful. But what they don't do is they don't have a local boots on the ground like we are. I go in and out of them all day. Are they stable? What are they able to accept? Because I'll have a family come to me. They've been all over the roadmap everywhere that I would have known from the beginning would not have been a good fit.
Right. Right. And
And
that's a big
there,
part of it too. It's
yes,
very stressful. It's
hmm,
very stressful. And the list you gave me allowed me
yes,
to say, all right, let me go look at this. Let me look at this. And then I learned what questions to ask too,
yes,
based on my mom's condition. She
right,
can't do this. She can't do this. She can't do this.
right. And the list I sent was as if she was going to able to bear weight. One,
Yes.
if someone can't bear weight, that eliminates the next five, and we're down to two. That's just
Yes.
close.
And that was shocking to me.
Mhm.
That's what was shock. I mean, I remember talking with you about this. I was sitting in the rehab where my mother was in the lobby, basically in tears,
Mhm.
because I was learning that she needed the most assistance and that she couldn't stand and bear weight, and yet not one assisted living would take her
No.
because she couldn't. And that seemed a little ironic to me, that the people that need the most assistance can't get into assisted living.
Yes, and
But who would have thought?
there are a couple that do, but you had your connection with Pat Nixon, and that's fine. And that's the other thing. I'm in it for the resident. You find the best situation, I'm thrilled. There are a couple of assisted livings that do in each of the areas of town, and we get to know them. Of course, there's a fee to that too, and not
Sure.
everybody has that assisted living fee. And that's also the beauty of residential care homes. Every single piece of senior living has its niche.
Yes.
And that's the part that the layman's not going to know. And it's almost like I tell people when you have a baby and you go get that book and you read about how to care for your baby and you're reading and reading, and then you go, but that's not my baby. My baby, and not one page in that book has what your baby is. That's
Right.
me with my first baby. I kept reading. I know I can do this. I'm not stupid. I do love her. And not have the answer because my baby didn't fit that book. So that's almost the same here. Your parent may not just fit the A plus B equals C. And so you're going to need someone who knows the gray area and your options.
So as an adult child, so there's people in their 60s. So if you're in your 60s now, your parents are probably, in their 70s and 80s at this point.
Mhm.
And so at what point does an adult child maybe sit down with their parent, talk to them about this, and maybe get in touch with you and say, okay, mom, let's go look. Karyl has recommended these 5 places right
Mhm.
now, and that could change 5 years from now.
Yeah.
But let's go look at these and
Hmm.
see which one you like the best, so that, at what point does that all need to kind of happen?
Well, so there's good and bad in that. If you go early and preview where I might have recommended today, and then you're ready to move in 6 months, I may not. So if you want to preview to just enjoy the real estate, that has its place to see where real estate wise you think. I like the way it feels in here, the color, it's bright. I like their floor plans. That can be done very early in independent living or 55 plus. But once it moves to care needs, then it really is you're just viewing the real estate until I know what the care need is that pushes to the move. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so maybe if we say, you know, well, we went and looked at, A, B, and C, and we like them because they're close to my house.
Right.
And then you would then, I guess, ask, well, what level of care does your parent need right now? And then kind of advise from there.
Right, because I can tell you, I worked that side for many years, and I won't name the name, but I'll give you an example. So I went in, and it was a whole new team. We were in an assisted living, a very nice one, beautiful, all redone, lovely. The month before, they had 25 move outs based on care. Really, 25
Wow.
on care. So, and that's okay because life ebbs and flows. So then we got in there and turned it around as a team. Got a really good nurse, steady executive director, good activity director, getting the those that could engage engaged. Really became stable. Turned it around, and it was full because the care became stable. They do ebb and flow. Now
Yeah.
the to that too is if you're in one and you picked one, and I moved you in when it was great, and the executive director leaves and it kind of has some hiccups, don't panic and pull the trigger and move. They might get a good executive director back in there. It's like anything. You loved your third grade teacher, and then the substitute came in because you went on maternity leave. She wasn't so great, but you got through it, and then your teacher came back. Yay. It's kind of the same because as a senior, you don't want to move any more than you have to.
That's true.
If it's really bad and we have to move you, we'll help you move again, but that is not the goal. And so we know the places that stay stable over time. That's also
I
the,
think that's huge.
it's really big. Um, and it's important because they are businesses too, and businesses sell.
Yeah.
So when they sell, then sometimes we kind of hold off and wait and see how they do. That may not be the best move in at that time. Again, the beauty of a placement service.
I think that's a huge point right there because like you said, they are I look at it almost like an apartment building, right? So an apartment building, just your regular, they may change ownership, they may change management companies, they may change a variety of things over the course of time. And
Yeah,
you can see, it's good, it's not good, it gets sold, it gets better, it gets not good, because of just the infrastructure.
right.
And I would imagine that's very, very much the same, particularly in the large corporate owned
Hmm.
senior communities.
Right. And so then from that, my real advice to adult children when they start to broach their parents about this is to approach it in a positive manner. Because if they've started to see that their parent is falling or they shouldn't really be alone, etc., saying that things like, well, you can't be alone, you're not able to handle it anymore, I'm sorry, but it's insulting to them. So, what I usually advise is to approach everything positively, which is, man, mom, since you've had that knee replacement, you're amazing. Like, I can't believe what you're still able to do. At the same time, we've both seen where you've asked me for some help here and there, and that's great. I'm glad you're asking for help. But in order to continue to preserve your independence, and not have you fall in a place where you're alone in a home, the way you can preserve your independence is to choose assisted living. It's a preservation of independence, it's not a stripping of your independence. Everything has to be posted in a positive manner.
Well, yeah, when my mother started falling and she was resisting the move, and I'm like, look, I know you love the Carrollton EMTs.
Mhm.
They're really good looking to come and get you back
Yes,
on your feet every morning, but
yes,
that's really not what we need to have happen here. We really need a smaller space so you have less room to fall.
yes. A smaller space to navigate, a pendant you can push for someone to come help you instead of doing something you shouldn't, which again, the more you fall, then your independence is going to be
Yeah,
stripped. Wherein, if we can prevent that, then you're actually preserving your independence, not taking it away.
yeah.
If you
Well,
get
and
wrong, you're going to be sick. If someone can get your meds to you properly, then you're not going to be sick and you'll be healthy and independent.
yes, yeah, it is. And I get how, first you're like taking their keys away and then you're doing this and it's like you're taking
Stripping them.
everything. You're stripping them of everything and I understand
Yes.
that angst and the anxiety that causes and the helplessness it
Yes.
makes you feel.
Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the bustling DFW area? Look no further because I am Robin McCoy, your trusted real estate agent with Keller Williams Realty. For over 15 years, I've been helping buyers and sellers navigate the real estate market here in DFW. So whether you're looking for your dream home or aiming to sell your property for the best price, relax. I got this. As a seasoned professional, I'll guide you through the entire process, ensuring a smooth and stress-free experience. I understand that buying or selling a home can be a significant decision. That's why I pride myself on providing exceptional customer service. I'll be with you every step of the way, answering your questions and addressing your concerns. So why take a chance with just any real estate agent? Choose me, Robin McCoy, the professional who has proven my excellence in helping both buyers and sellers in the DFW area for over 15 years. Call me today at 214-226-3770 or visit my website at robinmccoyrealty.com. Let's make your DFW real estate dreams come true. Relax. I got this.
And I understand
Yes.
that angst and the anxiety that causes and the helplessness it
Yes.
makes you feel.
And the only thing that can happen sometimes, and there's really nothing you can do as an adult child, is you can try all you want. But if it truly is causing an impasse of your relationship, sometimes it takes an event for the senior to really understand that it has to happen. And I'm sorry about it, but it sometimes really is what has to happen. So you can do all the
Yeah.
preparation you want, but you still have to empower the senior if they're fully coherent and at least decently coherent. It's not going to serve you well as their daughter if you force it to the nth
Right.
degree. Unfortunately, you might have to see that an event forces the move.
Well, and that's kind of
Uh,
again where we got to, right? This,
yeah.
I mean, we got there, and and for me, my mother and I are very opposite. I told her, I said, I am now prepared for you to be mad at me for a very long time.
Mhm.
However, this is something that has to happen for your
Yep.
safety, for
Yes.
your safety.
Yep.
And if you're going to be mad at me for a year to 5 years for the rest of our lives, I'm
Yes.
prepared for that because I'm not going to let you fall and break a hip and hit your head and those
Yes.
sorts of things.
Yes.
So it's a tough place to be. And the fact that there are people like yourself and the service that you provide, it's another leg to stand on. It's
Yes.
another leg to stand on so that you've got, like you said, the knowledge so that I don't have to walk into every assisted living, memory care, whatever place in DFW, because there are many,
Many.
that I can call somebody that can knock out half a dozen of them for me because of whatever it may be, because they won't take my mother or my parent, or the care that they provide may not, they've just gone through a management change. I'm not recommending them right now.
Yes. Right. Exactly. And for our role, I mean, it's truly an honor and a privilege to be part of the journey. And that's the way I see it. Truly.
That's, one thing I have learned is all of the folks like yourself who work in this industry are truly, you have to be doing it from your heart. It's a passion. It's a calling,
Yeah.
because this ain't easy.
No, but it's a gift to be able to impact someone's life in the most positive way. And even in the hospice journey, it's a gift. So,
Yeah.
however, you can, we can insert ourselves to be that navigator. I'm always grateful for that opportunity.
Well, it's like I said, and it just is it is a gift. It's a gift that not everybody has. It is a gift that it's a hard road. It is
Yeah.
a hard road for both the person, right? The individual, any adult children, and
Yes.
then it's also difficult for the caregivers that are out there
Oh, yes.
to put all this together in a system, and this is my opinion only, that is just very difficult to navigate. If you don't have a Karyl Thomas, I don't know how anybody does it. I don't know how my mother could never have figured all this stuff out on her own.
Right. It's
So
very,
if you don't have adult children and you don't have a Karyl Thomas in your world, I don't know how it gets managed. I don't know how people do it.
and the healthcare system alone, opinion, is broken. I mean, there are still gray areas that there are folks that fall through the loophole. Speaking of the folks that don't have money for these assisted livings or even a residential care
Mhm.
home or a family that can come up with it, they don't take Medicaid. Very few do. And the
Yeah,
ones
they don't.
who do that are assisted living, you have to pay full price until a Medicaid bed opens and then you have to qualify. But at the same time, the skilled nursing facilities out there do. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a Medicaid expert, but I know who to tell you to call.
Well, and that's it, right? It
Yeah.
is, I don't see how this system that we're in is sustainable
Mhm.
for people like you and I who are the next the next group to start showing up at those doorsteps.
Yes.
And I don't, and the, like you said, the residential senior care homes, I think, are that missing piece between, the assisted living
Yep.
and the nursing home, because there's that group of people that can't get into assisted living for whatever reason,
Yep.
and they're not ready for a nursing home.
No.
They just need to be safe and they need some extra help.
Yes.
And this is a whole segment that many people don't know. The only reason I knew about it was because of my relationship with Pat Nixon.
Yes. And it worked out beautifully. And I'm so glad for it and couldn't be in a better place. And I'm happy about that. And there are other good ones like hers too, because she just happens to be in Denton. But if someone calls me from Grapevine, well, that's probably a little too far. So that's where we come into play too, as we
Yeah.
see where hated, etc. So
Yeah. So, and that's what, I think, you're like the hub, and there's all the spokes that go out, and just like anything else, if you've got a central hub where you can go for information, it
mhm,
just takes a lot of stress off of an already extremely stressful situation.
agree. And just like I wouldn't try to navigate real estate without a professional, I really wouldn't. With contracts that are written, with um, what are my rights,
Yeah.
um, which I don't think people understand. All kinds of things, right? They don't understand the rent to own. Is that really the way to go? Um,
Not even legal in Texas.
yeah, and mortgage world. And then if you talk about seniors and the reverse mortgage, is that the right thing for that senior? I mean, that would be me talking out of my scope. That's when I go to
Yeah.
someone like you. And then you go to someone that does mortgage that specializes in that. Like we all have our specialty and our
Yeah.
resource. And that's what we are.
Well, and that's why you need a tribe of people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's, me and I'm looking for something as the adult child,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's me as a realtor and I'm looking for help for a client or
Yeah.
a way to spread information, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's you who have a client that needs to sell a house or do this or that or whatever,
Right.
it's so important to have a team or a tribe, as I like to call it, that can handle all the pieces because nobody can know it all, nor
No,
should they.
no. And the adult child still is trying to work
Yeah.
half the time. And that's the other piece. So you could have take every Saturday after Saturday after Saturday to tour, or you could just do one Saturday because I narrowed it to 3 for you and
Yeah.
not miss any work or at least reduce it. Because that's the other
That's, yeah.
becomes
Well, and we don't know the questions to ask. And so what happens is, I know that when I spoke to you initially, you asked me a series of questions about my mother, right? You
yep,
asked how old is she and how cognizant is she
yeah,
and what's her physical abilities and what does she like to do and where does she live now and all these things so that because I know in your mind you're going, okay, that won't work. This might, and you're sorting that
yeah,
information
yes.
for me.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And that's what narrows it down to be a good navigated search and what is appropriate for your loved one at that time. And I always tell children too, and don't feel guilty if we moved them somewhere and something changes. You can't feel guilty. The information changed. You did the right thing at the time with the information in front of you,
Yeah.
which is what happened to you all, remember? The
Yeah.
information changed very quickly. So y'all did nothing wrong in the beginning, but the information changed. So then you have to just step to the side and adjust to the new information and go from there.
Well, and we can all just do the best that we can,
Right.
right? And that's the other thing that I learned through some of this. And again, you were a little bit of a therapist for me too, from on more than one occasion.
I'm giving my own self therapy.
Because it is.
Yes.
You're doing the right thing. You're doing the best with what you have. Whether it's the information or the current situation, and these things do change very, very quickly.
It can be very quick. You bet. I mean, I had a person that had a hospice conversation just the other day, 2 days ago. She was playing pickleball, but then she had a stroke. That person's life changed on a dime.
Yeah.
I mean, there
Oh,
was discussion of 55 plus independent anything. We went straight from totally living on own playing pickleball to not able to care for herself. So, I mean, just shockwaves for the poor family.
yeah. Yeah. And it happens. And we all, like you said earlier, putting it off or ignoring it will never be the right thing to do. And so, I mean, as much as I thought I was trying to look ahead and on behalf of my mother,
Hmm.
of course, she had other ideas on a lot of that. So there was that. You still are not ready when it
No,
all happens. You're just not. And so the more information you can have and the more services that you can utilize now building up to that time, the
hmm,
more people you can leverage, to help you is going to make it easier when the time comes to make whatever change is
Yeah,
there.
right. And the only other advice I have is sometimes we'll say, well, my friend's mom, she lived over here and she loved it. Well, that probably is a good place, but is your friend's mom, did she fit that scenario based on her care needs? Because your mom's care needs might be different. And like if I have someone who's totally not active wise, they're not going to do bingo and they're not going to go to the music and they won't go down to dining. And really they're closer, like a really high fall risk, a larger community is not a good fit.
No, it's not.
So you would just move them there. They're just going to fall more and they're never going to do what that community offers. That might be the best fit for a residential care home, but not all residential care homes are licensed. That might matter to you that they be licensed and overseen by the state. Someone else, it may not matter. So all those things come into play.
There it is. So if there was one thing we didn't talk about, I think that last sentence was was the mic drop. But what would you like to get across to anyone listening today that might be just kind of starting to think about some of this?
I would just say, depending upon who you are, if you're the adult child and you're doing it for your parent, the sooner the better you become educated about it, the better opportunities you're going to have when it happens to not have that shock, knee-jerk reaction. And secondarily, if you're just someone my age, 58, I mean, right now I'm pretty healthy, but that can change even quickly for this age. Every 10 years, the potential is greater.
It's huge. Yeah.
Huge. So I say to myself, I got to get that power of attorney in place. I need to tell my husband and my children my wishes. And that is my biggest exclamation point. Do not avoid. It's not going to help. It's coming. Everybody gets something. We just don't know what, where, and when.
Yeah, exactly. Wise words, folks. So let's take this to heart. My recommendation is if you are in that age group, you've got you're an adult child of a parent that is creeping up there in age and you're starting to wonder. I mean, call Karyl, call her and talk to her. She is knowledgeable for days and days, and she will talk you through and answer all the questions that she can answer. And if she can't, she'll find the answer for you. She's been in this world and it's none of us have been here before. I saw a thing on Facebook or something that said, when I realized my parent hasn't been this age before either, has never been through this either, it really kind of hit me and it made it a little bit more understanding. So everybody, again, Karyl's information is going to be in the show notes. I hope that you will give her a call if you are in the process of finding some senior living options for yourself or for your parents or other loved ones. Please utilize her services and her knowledge because it was invaluable to me. It calmed me, and she just takes a lot of the stress out of it. So thanks for being on the show today, Karyl.
My honor. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Crushing It with Your Tribe. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of the amazing people on the show. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for joining us for Crushing It with Your Tribe with Texas Realtor Robin McCoy. Check out all the show notes for contact information on Robin and her guests and to access your free resources and information discussed on this episode. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation. Thanks again, and we will see you next time on Crushing It with Your Tribe with Robin McCoy.